Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video we're going to start talking about Magic 2013, which is my absolute favourite core set, so I'm going to be very biased in these in the next 5 videos, but we're going to start off with Path to Victory, which is a white-blue deck. So I think before going into the deck, I'll just quickly explain what M13 did that kind of made it stand out a little bit. Well, actually, first thing we're going to say on the packaging. So going forward now, these packs contain 2 free boosters. Which I mean, is pretty good. You're getting more stuff when you buy one of them. It also did. It was the first core set to contain multicolored cards, although technically it was one multicolored card, but it was Nicol Bolas in his Planeswalker card, so that was pretty cool. And also, it was the first core set in a while that included legendary creatures. Which is really nice. So, basically, each of the 5 intro packs has like a legendary creature as like the foil face rare. So it kind of gives it this nice kind of like almost like mini like commander feel, I suppose, or like it themes it really nicely. Also, really similar to the 10th edition intro decks, which had excuse me, which had like Kamal and Arcanis and the Evan Carr, like all those like legendary creatures kind of heading up the deck. So yeah, M13 really good set, really enjoy it. Has a lot of cards in it that I really like. Went to an M13 pre-release and had a great time. So yeah, really, it's just a set that I think does a lot right. Yeah, not saying it's completely perfect, but I have a lot of nostalgia and fondness for it. Anyway, let's look at Path to Victory, white blue. So deck list here: 25 creatures, 5 instants, 2 enchantments, 2 sorceries, 1 artifact, 25 land, mana curve off to the side there. Let's dive in, start looking at all the creatures. So the foil face rare is Odric, Master Tactician, and Odric is a character who's shown up quite a few times in sets whenever we go back to Innistrad. I think there's been 3 versions of Odric at some point, and yeah, he's just a kind of a cool character. So 2 cards and 2 white for a 3/4 with first strike, which is honestly just those stats are pretty good on their own anyway. But then he has this ability: whenever he and at least 3 other creatures attack, you choose which creatures block this combat and how those creatures block. So this is actually like a nice little preview for the upcoming Return to Ravnica block, where we've got the Boros and their keyword Battalion, where you want to like attack with as many creatures as possible. Obviously, this points to what the deck strategy is, which is kind of go wide with a bunch of creatures, because then his ability kicks off. I mean, it's a really strong ability as well. You're attacking with a bunch of creatures. I mean, you can't. The easiest thing is just to say none of your stuff can block, and I just get through. All my stuff is unblockable. Or if you wanted to be a bit sneaky, you can. If your opponent's got certain creatures that you want to kind of kill off, you can have them, make unfavorable blocks so they get killed off, or yeah. But I think most of the time it's just a lot quicker and easier just to say like, right, none of your stuff blocks, I get through, and like normally going to be doing that when you want to get through to lethal damage. So yeah, Odric is, I think, a really good foil face rare for this deck. Which is saying a lot, because the other rare in the deck is Captain of the Watch, which is also a great card. So 4 and 2 white for 3/3 Vigilance. Other soldiers you control get +1/+1 and have Vigilance, which there's so many soldiers in this deck. I would say it's definitely the main creature type in the deck. So yeah, and +1/+1 Vigilance is really good. And when it enters the battlefield, makes 3 1/1 white soldiers, which are 2/2 Vigilance because of its effect. So yeah, adds a lot of power to the board. If you're playing this with Odric, gives him instant, instantly enough bodies to trigger his ability. So yeah, Captain the Watch is like a really solid rare, really nice reprint from M10, because I don't think it was in the other. It hadn't been in a core set since M10, but yeah, really nice to get it in here. And then we have 2 Crusader of Odric. So this is something I really liked about M13 as well. So you had the legendary creatures, but then they each had an associated uncommon that like synergized with their abilities. So Crusader of Odric, 2 and a white, XX, parent obviously each equal to the number of creatures you control, which synergizes with Odric because Odric obviously wants a bunch of creatures out. to trigger the ability. So yeah, really good. Crusade Roderick looking a bit like Amy Pond from Doctor Who here, I feel. But yeah, really, yeah, again, just really like solid ability, like just 2 and a white for this effect. This is what essentially color shifted Scion of the Wild from original Ravnica, dropped down to uncommon. And I would say even better because it's a human and a soldier and gets all the human and soldier synergies of that are in this set and that were in Innistrad. So yeah, Crusader Roderick is really solid. So then we get 3 Attended Knights, 2 and a white for a 2/2 with first strike. When it ends the battlefield, make a 1/1 white soldier. Yeah, this is really, really solid for 3 mana, makes 3 powers worth of stuff, being a 2/2 first strike as well. Yeah, this is a really solid card to include. 2 Griffin Protectors, 3 and a white for a 2/3 flyer. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Griffin Protector gets +1/+1 till end turn. So kind of like the Alliance ability, like years and years later in Capenna. So essentially like creature fall, really, isn't it? But yeah, this is really good. The deck is obviously about making a bunch of creatures or like creature tokens. So you have Griffin Protect, you do Attended Knight. This is going to go up to like +2/+2. Doesn't need many buffs really to become like quite a big threat in the air, potentially like a finisher. So yeah, Griffin Protector is really solid. 2 Healer of the Pride, 3 and a white for a 2/3. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 2 life. So it's kind of like bigger Soul Warden, I suppose. Obviously much higher power and toughness. Yeah, it's a bigger effect. Doesn't count every creature. It only counts like your creatures. I think I prefer Soul Warden overall, just because Soul Warden can come down like first turn where it gets the full benefit. You don't maybe particularly care about Soul Warding having high power and toughness. Its value is just coming down early and then just having constant life gain. Whereas this is a bit more expensive. It's a little clunky, but it is obviously a bigger life payoff as well. So yeah, I think it's okay. And it plays well to the theme of the deck of obviously getting a load of creatures out. So have 3 Ajani Sunstriker, 2 white mana just for a 2/2 lifelink. Yep, it's perfectly fine, 3 of those. A single Battlefight Eagle, 4 and a white for a 2/2 with flying. When it ends the battlefield, give another creature +2/+2 and flying till end turn. So yeah, it's sort of a nice combination of like flyer and a buff spell as well. So it's still doing something the turn you play it. So yeah, it's pretty good. And then a single Sarah Angel. We've got to have Sarah Angel in a core set deck. So 3 and 2 white just for a 4/4 flying vigilance. We all know what Sarah does. Yeah, she's great. And then we have 2 Arctic Avens. So this is a cycle that was in M13 that I really liked. I think it got revisited in M15, I want to say. So it's a whole cycle of creatures, and they're kind of like it's kind of like Curd Ape from one of the really early sets where on its own you cast it. It's got sort of okay stats for its cost, but then if you control a basic land type of another sort of associated with another color, it gets a benefit. So there's a whole cycle of those, and I think I just really like them. I think they're great. So Arctic Aven, it's 2 and a blue for a 2/1 with flying, which is not great. That's not as good as Windrake. But if you have a plains, gets +1/+1, goes up to 3/2 flyer for 3, and that's suddenly looking a lot better. And also you can pay 1 white to give it lifelink until end turn. So I really like these. I really like this cycle of creatures. Off the top of my head, I think Arctic Aven might be the best one, I want to say. That's probably... Yeah, I'm trying to think what all the others are. The white one is an elephant that gets trample. The black one is... Oh, I think the black one can become unblockable. The red one regenerates, and the green one I think gets haste because of course it does. So yeah, I think out of those 5, I think Arctic Haven is probably the strongest, just because it has an evasive ability and it can gain lifelink. So yeah. A single Courtly Provocateur, which is a card I always want to make work. I definitely went through a phase of trying to get this into decks and trying to make it work, because I think the effect's really fun. So 2 and a blue for a 1/1, which is, I will admit, it's not great stats. But the abilities don't cost any mana. So it either taps to make a creature attack this turn if able, or tap to make a creature block this turn if able. So yeah, kind of a very flexible effect. Either force a creature to attack or block, and yeah, I think it's really just fun, flavorful card. I say I really want to make it work. Maybe I'll make a I don't know, like a cube one day, like it's themed around politicking nobles, and I'll throw Courtly Provocateur in, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I really like Courtly Provocateur. I think the ability is just really fun. And then a single Fairy Invaders, just 4 and a blue for a 3/3 with flash and flying, which is perfectly serviceable. 3 Silvercoat Lions, which normally I would groan a little at, but I'm going to cut it some slack just because it is a core set intro deck. So it's aimed at slightly lower complexity. It's aimed at newer players. So Silvercoat Lion is it gets a pass here, I suppose. And then weirdly, we got some artifact. We got an artifact creature book, Chronometon. So 1 colorless for a 1/1. You can pay 1 and tap to put a +1/+1 counter on it. So this can just like slowly build up. I suppose you can play it nice and early. I suppose so. If you want, you could just you could just start swinging with it as soon as possible if you wanted. But if you want to invest the time and build it up, then you could do that as well. I suppose. I think this is a nice little teaching tool as well. You could you players you block with it and then do its tap ability to get the counter while it's blocking, possibly. I know, but yeah, I think it's fine as an inclusion. I think all these M13 intro decks have. They all definitely have an artifact. They might all have an artifact creature. I'm not entirely sure. And then so moving on to non-creature spells, we've got 2 Divine Verdicts, just 3 and a white. Destroy an attacking or blocking creature. Yep, this is perfectly fine white removal. A single Glorious Charge, 1 and a white, to give all your creatures +1/+1 to end turn. This is good, in a deck where you're going wide with a bunch of creatures. So yeah, this is fine. Kind of a little small effect, but it's okay. A single Safe Passage, which is, I think, a great casual kitchen table like damage prevention spell. In the same vein as like Fog and stuff like that. So just 2 and a white, prevent all damage that would be dealt to you and creatures you control this turn. So this is really nice. Sort of a one-sided Fog effect is really nice, I think. Got 2 Captain's Call, so 3 and a white, to make 3 soldier tokens. So yeah, this is fine. Goes really nice, obviously, with like Griffin Protector and Captain of the Watch, which is I think is the card that's being referenced here in the in this card itself. So yeah, you got obviously Healer of the Pride. So you got a bunch of effects that definitely want you to drop a bunch of tokens onto the battlefield. So yeah, I like that. A single Oblivion Ring. We all know what Oblivion Ring does. Just exile something until the O ring goes away. So yeah, this is fine. And then another ring, but this one is a bit of equipment. The Ring of Thune. So there's one of these kind of like associated with each color, and I think they're a pretty cool design. So 2 mana, equips for 1. Equipped creature has vigilance, which is perfectly fine. And at the equipping for 1, 1 mana to get vigilance. At the beginning of your upkeep, if the equipped creature is white, it gets a +1/+1 counter. So this is really nice. Obviously, the majority of the creatures in the deck are white. You put this on one of them. Not only have they got vigilance, but they're gonna keep getting stronger. You can just keep building them up. If the game sort of goes on too long, and eventually you've got a bigger creature that can break through. So yeah, I think this is a pretty fun little equipment. Actually, I think all these rings are pretty good, honestly. And then a single Downpour, 1 in the blue, just to tap up to 3 target creatures. This is really nice. Get blockers out of the way. Which I know Odric can do, but he's just 1 card. I know this is just 1 card as well. But this also stops attacks as well on your opponent's turn. They're going to declare attackers, do this, bam, tap down 3 creatures, and then that probably ruins their plans. So yeah, this is I think a fun little trick, honestly. On the subject of tricks, we got Tricks of the Trade. So 3 in a blue for an aura, goes on a creature, gives them +2/+0 and makes them unblockable, which is I feel pretty solid and maybe a little expensive, but I think +2/+0 and unblockable is and at common as well. I think this is perfectly fine. And then we've got a single Evolving Wilds. I think they all these M13 decks have an Evolving Wilds in them, which is good because it's good to show new players about ways to fix your land and stuff. And then 8 islands and 16 plains. So yeah. So what could have been? So I think the 2 rares are good. Odric and the Captain of the Watch. I think they're both perfect. Faith's Reward is a possibility. Obviously, we can't take away Odric because the whole point is he's got to be the foil face. He's the legendary. But Faith's Reward is you get all permanents that were basically destroyed that turn come straight back into play, which is I think a pretty good effect. And you could, I guess, play around with the effects that care about like when a creature comes into play, you get the effect again. Maybe that's a possibility, but I think Captain of the Watch is a lot better and cleaner as a choice. War Falcon, I thought could have been a possibility here. So 1 white mana for a 2/1 flyer. It can't attack unless you control a knight or soldier, but like the majority of the creatures in the deck are either a knight or a soldier, so this is like a very minimal drawback. And also, if we're talking again from like a sort of a teaching point of view, like if it's a new player, this is a nice way of showing that, oh, that creature type, does matter sometimes. I know we've got like a bunch of, Capture the Watch gives all your soldiers +1/+1, but just to help drive it home, I guess. And Divination possibly as well, just because I feel like you're playing creatures a lot. There's a chance maybe you kind of run out of fuel, I guess. So Divination just to draw draw 2 more cards and just have more options, I guess. More creatures so you can play them, I guess. Wouldn't have hurt to, I think, have 1 or 2 of them in here. But overall, I think it's actually pretty solid as a deck. It's nice to see kind of white blue do this kind of strategy of going wide with a bunch of tokens, have like this kind of soldier tribal feel to it. So this one I quite like it. But I'd like to hear obviously what you think about this one. If you got any stories or thoughts or comments or opinions about this deck, or about the things that were introduced in M13, like these legendary creatures, or some of the cycles or whatever, stick a comment below. Always like reading those. But I'll be back next time. Go look at another M13 intro pack. But until then, thanks for watching and listening. Have a great day.